You know what's really crazy? One day soon, zero point 0.1 Bitcoin, just 1/10 of a coin, will be something most can never afford. Not because Bitcoin is gone, not because it failed, but because it won. Right now, people still laugh when you say I'm stacking sats. They think zero point 0.1 BTC, around 10 million satoshis, is small, pointless, maybe not even worth the effort. But history says otherwise. In 2010, 10,000 Bitcoin bought 2 pizzas. In 2025, zero point 0.1 Bitcoin could one day buy a home. In a few short years, most people will look back at this exact moment and say, I can't believe I could have owned that much Bitcoin for that cheap. Now stay with me, because by the end of this video you'll understand why zero point 0.1 BTC will be soon a dream that got away, how it's happening right now under our noses, and what I'm personally doing right now to make sure I'm not one of those left wishing. Now, before I start, a quick disclaimer: this video is not financial advice. I'm not here to tell you what to buy or sell. I'm just here to share research, history, and personal perspective on Bitcoin. Remember, investing is risky, so you can lose money. Never invest more than you can afford to lose, and always do your own research or talk to a professional before making financial decisions. Now, that out of the way, let's start with something simple: supply and demand. Bitcoin has a total supply of 21 million coins. That's it. No one can change that. No central bank, no government, no billionaire. But here is what most people forget. Not all 21 million are even available. Around 19.9 million are already mined. An estimated suggests 3 to 4 million are lost forever due to forgotten wallets, destroyed hard drives, or lost private keys. That means maybe 17 million Bitcoin actually exist in the real world today. Now, let's divide that by the Earth's population. 8 billion people. That's 0.0021 BTC per person. If Bitcoin truly becomes the next global reserve asset, that's it. That's the maximum anyone could ever own on average. So if you are sitting on 0.1 BTC, you are already hold almost 50 times more than the global average in a future where Bitcoin wins. But people don't see it that way yet, because they're still comparing it to fiat. $15,000 is seen, or $10,000, as a lot for a tenth of a coin. And yes, that's true. But they don't realize that 0.1 BTC isn't a small amount. It's a huge slice in the total network. Let me show you what happens when perspective shifts. Think back in 2011, owning one Bitcoin meant nothing. It was worth less than $1. In 2017, owning one BTC suddenly meant something. It was 20,000 US dollars. By 2025, the conversation changed completely again. People start saying, okay, maybe I can't afford a whole coin, but I'll get 0.1 BTC instead. That's the next level of scarcity. When people stop measuring wealth in dollars and start measuring it in Bitcoin fractions. Just like people used to say, I want to own 1 ounce of gold. The next generation will say, I want to own 0.1 Bitcoin. But here is the twist. By the time that mindset becomes mainstream, it will be already too late. Institutions have quietly been front-running that shift for years. Look at Strategy, now holding over 600,000 Bitcoin. ETFs from BlackRock, Fidelity, and others are hoarding tens of thousands every week. Every coin they buy, every Satoshi that moves into cold storage is one less coin available to the average person. And what about retail investors? Most of them are waiting for a dip that may never come again. They don't realize that the scarcity moment isn't in the future. It's happening right now. So once the majority of Bitcoin supply sits in ETFs, sovereign funds, and long-term holders, the free float supply becomes razor thin. And that's when 0.1 Bitcoin turns from a small to impossible. Let's talk about psychology, because scarcity alone doesn't make people rich. Mindset does. There are three big reasons most people will miss 0.1 Bitcoin before it's gone. One, short-term thinking. People still treat Bitcoin like a stock, something to trade or time. They buy when it's pumping, sell when it's red, and repeat the cycle until they've lost both conviction and capital. Meanwhile, the people who simply held quietly accumulating sets end up owning life-changing amounts years later. Bitcoin rewards patience, not perfection. It's not about catching the perfect entry. It's about staying in the game long enough for the world to catch up. If you zoom out, Bitcoin has never punished, never long-term conviction. It only punishes those who try to outsmart it. Now, a second point is disbelief in exceptional growth. People understand linear growth. 2 becomes 4, 6 becomes 8. But Bitcoin grows exponentially. It doesn't double, it multiplies. Michael Saylor once said Bitcoin's growth rate averages around 29% per year long term. Can you imagine at that pace? Bitcoin doubles roughly every 2.5 years. So let's do the math. And if Bitcoin sits, let's say, as the price of today, around $110,000 and continues at 29% rate, by 2030, you're looking at a magnificent price of $500,000 to $600,000 per coin. That means 0.1 BTC could be worth $50,000 to $60,000. And even if that's too optimistic, cut in half, it's still life-changing money for most people. But because the number feels too big, people think it's impossible. They underestimate the exponential growth, what it does over time. Well, the third point is lifestyle inflation. And this is the toughest one, to be honest, because most people could afford 0.1 if they really wanted to over time. But they spend their future wealth on present comforts. New phones, subscriptions, Netflix, coffees, cars, holidays. All the temporary dopamine hits that trade away long-term freedom. Meanwhile, 0.1 BTC, something that could one day equal decades of savings, decades of hard work, feels too expensive. That's the trap. It's not that they can't afford Bitcoin. It's not that they don't yet understand what it represents. Now, comfort is the new poverty. When you are comfortable, you stop preparing for what is coming. In the world we are moving into, with rising inflation, surveillance money, and digital control, won't reward comfort. It will reward independence. Bitcoin isn't about getting rich. It's all about freedom, getting free. And owning 0.1 BTC may soon be the line between people who own a piece of that freedom and the people who rent their future from those who do. Now, let's zoom out. The entire global financial system is shifting silently but rapidly. Governments are drowning in debt. Currencies are being printed at record paces never seen before. And at the same time, central banks are exploring CBDCs, central banks' digital currencies. Those CBDCs might look like modern money. They're programmable, traceable, and ultimately controllable. Well, Bitcoin is the antidote to that. It's permissionless, borderless, and mathematically scarce. No one can freeze your wallet, block your transaction, or inflate your savings. And that's why every cycle more people are waking up to what Bitcoin really is. It's not a trade, not a stock, not a gamble, but the most secure property right ever created. And look, here is another reason 0.1 BTC will become a dream. the generational wealth transfer. Over $100 trillion in wealth is expected to transfer from baby boomers to millennials and Gen Z over the next 2 decades. And who do you think understands digital assets better? The old guard or the new one? Already trust code more than banks. As that shift accelerates, Bitcoin becomes the default store of value. By then, the idea of owning 0.1 BTC will sound like someone saying, own 10 acres of prime land in Manhattan. It will be possible, just not for sale. And now that Bitcoin ETF already exists, something huge is happening behind the scenes. Supply is leaving the open market forever. Every time someone buys Bitcoin ETFs, the fund actually buys real Bitcoin and locks it away in cold storage. Those coins don't move. They're gone. That means fewer coins are available on exchanges, which means price volatility down the line, but only in one direction. And guess what? It's the perfect setup for what is coming next. The hyper scarcity phase. So what am I personally doing? I'll be honest with you, I'm not trying to time the market anymore. I've done that before, it never worked, at least not for me. So what I'm doing right now is simple. I accumulate consistently, automatically and quietly. I treat Bitcoin as my savings account, not my gamble. Every week a small part of my income converts into stats. No stress, no emotions, just pure accumulation and discipline. Because I know what 0.1 Bitcoin will represent one day. I don't need to own a full coin to change my life. Of course I would love to, but that's not my goal. I just need to make sure I don't end up looking back, thinking, I was right there, I was so close and I missed it. So that's my mindset. Because 0.1 BTC is more than a number on the screen. It's proof that you understood something fundamentally before the world did. One day, people will scroll through old videos, potentially like this, and realize this wasn't a hype. It was a history in real time. The moment when the average people still had a chance to own a meaningful piece of Bitcoin and didn't take it. So whether you decide to buy a hold or just learn, remember this: the window doesn't stay open forever. And when it closes, 0.1 BTC won't just be valuable, it will be a dream that most people missed.